Hi everyone, it's the Chico Hospital for Cats podcast with another important episode about, obviously, cats. And we have Dr. Colin here today. Hi, Dr. Colin.
Hi, Samit.
So we wanted to talk about basically cats and nutrition a little bit today.
Yeah, I think that there are some important things that people might not understand and that might not be coming through as good information in terms of the marketing strategies that some food companies use.
Let me just ask you the very first question I have in my mind, because it's so popular or trending and people go after this. What do you think about raw meat diet? Is it good or bad? And if it's not good, why is it not good?
Well, there are a lot of experts in nutrition, much smarter than I am, PhD nutritionists and board certified veterinary nutritionists, and the consensus that I absolutely agree with is that raw diets present some significant risks, and all you have to do is read about the recalls of contaminated food on the human side to know that the risks of raw food are not inconsiderable, and some of the studies have demonstrated some significant bacterial contamination in them. That said, there are some people who swear by them, and there may be certain illness-related conditions that might benefit by it. I don't know what they are, but I think anytime someone says absolutely no, never, you're setting yourself up to be made an idiot. So what I would say is what the experts say, which is that there is significant risk. There is a risk to humans as well, and so anyone who has young children or people that might be somewhat immune compromised or the elderly living in their home are placing those people and their immune system at a much higher peril
By keeping this type of food
around.
Oh,
exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
So what the experts say is if you have those kind of people in your home, absolutely no raw food. So, people don't eat raw eggs, for this exact same reason. So I think it's really important to be careful about what you're choosing based upon what you're hearing.
Yeah, and as far as the cat's body, just taking that raw food for like balanced nutrition, is that a good idea, or does the cat not get everything it needs?
Well, it depends on who's making the food. The truth of the matter is that if there aren't PhD nutritionists or board certified veterinary nutritionists in that company actively formulating those diets, and they're being tested for their ingredient levels, then you have some reason to be confident that that food's coming from somewhere. What we're seeing in terms of really severe health problems, more on the dog side right now than cats, but it's happened in the cat world as well, is some really, really serious health risks that have developed as a result of some smaller companies formulating diets without proper nutrition research.
Yeah, I see some sections recently in grocery stores where there's this cooler or freezer with cat and dog food in it. Okay, raw food, that is a little bit complicated depending who's living in your house, where you're getting it, who's making the food, and all that stuff. There's a little bit more.
There's a lot more to think about.
Yes. And what about grain-free food that people are so into lately?
Well, what happens in the cat food world, it mirrors what's happening in the human food world.
Okay.
So people will come up with a diet fad, and it'll be, in the old days it was antioxidants, and then now there's keto, and there's grain-free, and all this other stuff, and paleo. What happens in our world is it mirrors that. So whatever anybody has a food fad out now, in a little while it'll come out in the cat world, without taking into consideration the really special nutritional requirements of cats. Cats are not small dogs or people. They are absolute carnivores. They need meat, protein. Now, to make dry food, and you know this, to make dry food, you have to have some carbohydrates to make it into that dry formula.
Yeah.
Well, cats can use that for energy, but not as efficiently. In any event, in order to make it into dry food, it has to have carbohydrates in it. If it's not grain free, if it's going to be grain free, then it's going to have something else in it. It's going to have rice, sweet potatoes, something. And to the cat, it doesn't matter because they're not very efficient at using carbohydrates anyway. And so grain free sounds good, but what it means is it's just picking a different carbohydrate source.
And it's in the bigger
picture, it's irrelevant.
Well, good to know. It's good to share that. And then speaking of these two trending, options of food, what is your favorite, or what would you feed your cat that is just an normal adult cat with no problems and just healthy?
If I had a choice, I would feed all cats canned food.
Okay. But
an awful lot of cats grow up not thinking that canned food is food. Cats are very texture oriented, odor oriented. Smell is equal as important as taste, and so and how they are fed when they're kittens has a huge impact on how they're willing to eat when they're older. So a lot of cats I can't feed a canned food diet to because they don't think it's food. But a good combination of canned and dry food from a company with board certified veterinary nutritionists and PhD nutritionists on their staff actively doing research on diet, that's the kind of food I want to feed my cats.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't have to be super expensive. There are some actually pretty doggone good foods in the grocery store. You just have to learn to read the label. And there are websites that you can go to get really good information. Like there's one called, Lisa Pearson is a veterinarian. She created a website called catinfo.org. And there you can find the nutrient profile of practically every canned food diet on the planet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So catinfo.org is a great source. You can see how much phosphorus there is, how much protein, how much potassium. The really important building blocks for cats you can find on that website. So that's where I'd go.
So that's interesting. If it was up to you, you would do only canned food for the perfect canned food, right? And then so this is interesting because most people, even people who come here as clients, I say, what is the diet? And they say, well, my cat doesn't like canned food, so we're doing only dry. And we try to always convince them for canned food, at least as a part of treat, to get some more water in too at the same time.
Well, that's it. Getting more water in. If you look at the protein profile of canned food on a dry matter basis, most of it's over 50% protein. You can rarely find a dry food that's over 45% protein, which is what cats need. Much better choice for a hypercarnivore.
Yeah.
Plus, as you say, getting them to consume more moisture by fooling them into taking in this yummy water that's in the food is really super helpful for these cats because they just don't drink enough.
Yeah. So to just let everybody know from here, we're definitely suggesting canned food as a part of your kitty's diet.
Absolutely. And make sure that you do your homework. Make sure you know how much protein's in it. Make sure you know what company that it's coming from and who's making the food. Basically, who's their team that's doing nutrition research and formulating diets. Because if it's somebody in their kitchen, it's not necessarily going to be a safe food.
Yeah, and on this topic also, if you say your cat doesn't like canned food, there's so many textures and shapes and options to try before you give up and offering one canned food. You could go like...
That is such a good point. Because cats are really driven by three things: odor, texture, and taste. And taste and odor kind of go together because they have sort of a special way of experiencing the taste of food using their olfactory sense as well. But texture is really important too. So you could try any one of a number of combinations that might somehow create that wonderful profile of texture and odor and taste that would be just lovely for that particular cat.
Yeah, I want to give a really small example here. One of our I-131 cats who stayed here for 5 days, on the drop-off, the lady said, I just brought dry food because my cat never eats canned food. And so on the end of the first day, I offered some canned food because she was not touching her dry food. But it turned out the next 4 days, the cat only ate canned food here.
So that texture and that odor profile and that taste was exactly the right combination. And there are literally thousands of options.
So many options, yeah.
I mean, even one particular company will have hundreds of different ones.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, the idea of giving up after trying once, I mean, I get it that it's expensive to open up a can of canned food and not have it be eaten. I get that. But you can also say, well, he doesn't like this chunky variety, but look, there's this loaf kind over here, so I won't try any more chunky stuff. I'll go for this loaf kind of pate and try that. So you can sort of put it together in a way that's, you know, kind of rational about how you try stuff.
Yeah, because we all know they're the pickiest animals on planet. You know, one little change, one little change in the texture of food could make
exactly
huge changes. Yeah,
huge.
So okay, and would you like to add anything else?
Well, you know, to me, especially older cats, it's more important that they eat than what they eat. And if cats are fussy about their food, they can also get fussier when they get older because they start developing some health problems and things like that. And it's a huge mistake to change a cat's diet when they're aging or having some other kind of health issue. And the other thing to do is never change your cat's food when you have company or when somebody's moved into the house. Or cats really like routine, and anytime you mix it up in the house, it's a big disruption. So if you're going to try to change a diet, you always want to do it at a time when it's nice and quiet and everything else is real predictable and nothing else is going to happen, like the 29-year-old moving back into the basement or something like that.
And change it, transitioning it, obviously, right? Not just stop one food one day and offer a new one next day.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is you feed 25% of the new diet, 75% of the old diet for a few days, then half and half for a few days, and then the other direction. And take at least 7 to 10 days to switch diet.
Yeah, exactly. So it has to go slow and
step
by step.
If we didn't, you know, that's the way to get a phone call from our clients, you know, an abrupt diet change, which people do all the time, and then they call us up because their cat has diarrhea or is vomiting or something like that, and it was just too abrupt a diet change.
Yeah. So actually, I was gonna end the episode, but I just remembered, what if the cat doesn't eat? There is one product that we wanted to mention really briefly that is a little bit more cat friendly than others, right?
Yeah, and it's not a new pharmaceutical. It's a new packaging of an old one, because cats are really hard to give pills to, and a lot of them are even really hard to give liquid to. And a company that I like a lot, called Kindred Bio, formulated this appetite stimulant in a transdermal ointment. So you just rub it gently into the cat's ear, and most cats tolerate that just fine. And we use it to help with cats that, for whatever reason, are having trouble eating enough.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you do have some trouble giving your cat pills for appetite stimulants, you can always ask your veterinarian for a more cat-friendly option.
And you know, one of the things we balance really cautiously is the relationship, right? If you need to give your cat a medicine and it's going to ruin how he feels about you, and he ends up hiding under the bed from you, or won't sit in your lap anymore, then I'm not doing my job, right? Because that relationship is the reason why we have cats.
Yeah.
And so we want to preserve that and protect it to the extent that we can.
Okay, perfect. So if you are okay with it, I think this was a pretty good episode. We'll say goodbye for now and meet with our next episode again.
Thanks for having me on, Sam.
Thank you, and everybody have a good day. Thank you.